Hello, Ian.
Hello, Chulai.
How are you?
Yeah, good to see you again.
Good
Very
to
well,
see you
thank you.
again. Yes. Marvelous. How are we today? The weather is amazing.
I think I'm all right. Yes, not bad. Not
Not
bad out
bad.
there, actually. Quite a nice atmosphere.
Yeah,
That's what I
good.
like.
That's what we like. That's what we like. Yeah. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, last week we were talking about the future, weren't we? And
Yeah,
here we are. We're in the future
we are
now.
in the
We've
future.
made it. Life went on.
We
We've
are.
lived the moment. We're living the moment. And we talk about not really bringing the past into the future, or the bad things of the past into the
Mm.
future is what we were talking about, to have a better future and more of the things that we want. So
Mm.
I don't know. It's thinking about all that, and we're thinking about busyness, weren't we? A couple of weeks ago, even like before going on holiday and stuff, or before something changed. Got to get stuff done, and it's almost as though the mind never stops.
Yeah.
We've almost, these days you can go shopping 24/7, and it's as though, our minds are on this 24/7 mode, and they're never really sort of settled down, and if we're having nonsense, if our mind is talking nonsense to us, that sort of voice inside
Mm.
is talking rubbish to us or bad stuff, then we got sort of 24/7 of nonsense and rubbish and negative stuff going on.
Well,
Or
yeah, providing your
just,
mind is speaking
just a
back.
few thoughts for the start of the conversation.
That's a very
Make
good.
what you will.
It's a very good one, actually, because yes, the mind chatter or monkey mind, people often call that, and
Monkey mind.
monkey mind. It's like a
Okay.
monkey, it just constantly chatters and walk around and just going all. It is essentially that your monkey brain, they call it, or what we call the reptilian brain or whatever. Just the part of the brain that just wants to keep you safe, but also wants to distract you from what you want to do because it's
Right. Yeah.
what you want to do involves something different than what you've done before. Therefore, it means it's gonna have some uncertainty, which then means that it's gonna bring some fear into you, and that's why the monkey mind constantly wants to distract you. But not only that, like you say, you're always on the go 24/7. Being on the go is almost like something that you got to do these days. You got to be checking your phone as you're walking, you have to be watching something when you're cooking, and you've got to be whatever. It's always on the go. And even when you are sitting down, you're distracted with Facebook, whatever going on, and you cannot step away from it. Well, you
I mean,
can.
yeah, that's right. But yeah, life tends to go the way that we don't do that. And even my son says to me, and he's of the generation that he'll be watching telly and got his phone on the go at the same time, and you just they can't sort of stay disconnected from their mates or whatever, that sort of thing. But even he'll say to me, oh, no screen time an hour before bed, because
Okay.
it the light from the phone makes you think it's daylight, and then your brain wants to carry on in daytime mode rather than nighttime mode. And I think there's even got something, we've got like a night light setting that makes the phone look a bit more orangey at night time to
Yeah,
be more bedtime, more in line with bedtime, I suppose. But at the end of the day, you think, yeah, why don't I just actually stop, really?
it is true. And the thing is, it's so easy to get into that, and unfortunately algorithms and everything is designed in such a way that it wants to keep you addicted to social media and to
Wow.
all of that, and you want to keep scrolling, you want to keep watching. It kind of becomes like a mindless activity. Anyway, we are not here to talk about social media. Of course, it has its uses, and it's because of that we can reach so many people and help so many people. But at the same time, if you want to quieten that mind chatter that is generally talking silly things at us most of the time, that is getting in our way of achieving the things that we want to achieve in life, or even just doing the things that we want to do, then how do we do that? Any ideas?
Well, that's I'm waiting for that. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for this, because it's something that I can be guilty of. Although I am a big believer in relaxation and switching off, I'm not about doing all things for all men. And I do want to help people, yeah, of course. And I will go to the nth degree for other people and whatever, like, with this lady up the road that is on crutches and she needs a lot of help at the moment, and I'm taking her shopping regularly and things like that. So yeah, but we have to sort of, I do definitely desire to have, a fulfilling and relaxing and, not be afraid to switch off and relax. So the question you asked me, I'm playing for time, as you can see. If people have just joined us and they're not used to that, they're just new listeners, we get this thing where I get put on the spot, you see, by Chulai, and then I've got to try and waffle and play for time so I can come up with something sensible in response.
Okay. Well, if you don't have anything, that's okay too.
Oh, was it that obvious, Chulai, was it?
Well,
how do you quieten your mind? Well, first of all, stop waffling away and try and play for time.
Start, wouldn't
that
it?
would be a good start. Stop playing for time. Stop thinking you have to fill the gaps, and just, understand that actually the world can manage without me for a while. How about that?
I love the thing that you said just before that sentence.
Oh, go on. What did I say?
Stop trying to fill the
gaps. I'm trying to do it, you see, with the radio. If something goes wrong, if it goes quiet, fill the gap, talk your way out of it.
Yeah, that's it. That is what we do.
In life, yeah, stop trying to fill the gaps.
Sometimes the pause is good. Sometimes the pause is the times that we actually get all the inspiration, all the creativity, all the great stuff that comes to us. It's in that pause which we never allow ourselves to. And you've just perfectly demonstrated you want to fill the gap because you feel like something needs to be filled. But if there is no gap, new things can't come into our life. We spent most of our life wanting new things, striving for new stuff, but we never allow the time and the space and the pause for that to come.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? If you don't make the space, people talk a lot these days about headspace. Ask me tomorrow. I don't have the headspace today, which is fair enough. I'm not decrying that or saying that's it. I'm actually kind of saying, well, that's a good thing that people can say, no, I'm not going to give an answer today. I'm not in the right frame of mind to do it. But we must then, by the same token, make sure we do have those gaps and times where we have got the space to think.
We do create those times, and we're not saying here sit there for hours to meditate or do whatever.
No.
Even if it's 10 minutes a day, even if it's starting with 1 minute a day to quiet your mind. Don't think about anything, don't make lists in your head, whatever. Just be quiet with yourself and just listen to the sounds that are around you. Listen to the birds, listen to the trees, listen to the cars going by. That in itself is meditation. And this is kind of, you start to train your mind to distract. If thoughts will always come to your head, but it is your choice whether to focus on that and keep dwelling upon it or not. So how do we quieten that mind? It's just, these are the steps. Basically, we just train our mind to quieten itself instead of trying to fill the gaps. If you ever gone to a training in corporate days, they ask you a question and then they wait a second, and when people don't answer, they just come back with another something. If they allowed that 10 seconds for people to think about something, and the answers will start to flow already. But some trainers are such that they don't allow that time, and then you just keep being put on so much things. I already said before in one of the other episodes that when you breathe in order to take the next breath, you need to breathe out. So you need to create.
I'm doing it now as you're speaking.
You can't just keep inhaling all the time. You have to exhale in order for the next breath to come in. And the same thing in your life. If you have lots of clutter, either in your physical space or in your head space, you're not gonna keep bringing new stuff. And most of that clutter comes from our old beliefs, our old ways of being, our old ways of thinking, our old unhelpful experiences. And that's why our mind gets cluttered and cluttered and cluttered. And what we do is we clutter it even more. So So hobby quieten is that you train your mind, because everything that you are doing right now in your mind is you're trained to do it, whether you that or not. And even like this algorithms of the social media is training your mind to just keep wanting to come back to it. So you can train yourself knowingly and being aware of it, is to be quiet for 1 minute a day.
Mm, mm. And that really is the first step, isn't it? In addition to that, it's just reminded me of something that I read. I think it was in a book called sort of Mind Power or something of that nature that I bought at a Village Fate years ago when I was a kid. Actually, I don't know where. I think it's long gone. But what the guy was on about was thinking about a green pen and trying to train your mind to think purely about the greenness of it. And as soon as any thought, however trivial, comes into your mind as you're doing that, stop and you start again, basically. And he said, most people will only get a few seconds the first time, but by the time you keep practicing, you'll be able to get a lot more seconds and then maybe into minutes and things, just focusing on something that very arbitrary, doesn't matter, but as long as you pick one thing. That was what the guy was saying. He just happened to say the greenness of a pen. We can all picture that in our heads and just think of the greenness. As soon as you even think about a bird flying by outside or whatever, that's it, game over, start again.
That is nice, actually. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that.
I have to confess, it's something I can remember. I've got one of these I wouldn't say I've got a good or bad memory. I've just got a strange memory. I can recall odd things, but sometimes not important things that I need to remember, number plates from 30 years ago, but not, important legal documents that I need to complete or whatever.
Well, you don't need to necessarily remember them. They are written down. Perhaps your brain is deliberately pushing them away, whatever. But no, that's a really great example. That's a very easy example. Another thing is, like I said, good cars going past, there's this white noise that it makes, especially if it's a windy day. And then just focus on that and don't think about anything else. If any thought comes in, also be mindful not to judge yourself, but instead, I'll come back to that. Just continue focusing on it. And then time yourself, even if it's 30 seconds the first day, 1 minute the next day, 2 minutes the 2 days after. You're going to train your body, your mind even, to be still and quiet. And this is amazing experience in the way that actually so many things start to come to you. You want to desperately remember something. You can't remember when you're talking, when you whatever.
Oh, that's awful, that is.
What happens in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning? It comes to your mind. And why? Because your mind is quiet. You cannot have the mind chatter anymore. Well, unfortunately, some people do have the mind chatter. That's why they can't either go to sleep or wake up in the middle of the night and go back to sleep. And by having this quietening exercise every day, small, start with the smaller steps, you are going to find that your mind will quieten, you'll feel better in yourself, and you will actually stop the need to quieten that, to fill up that gap. If you like.
Yes. Just talking about, not being able to sleep for having things on your brain. This happens to me occasionally, not all the time. I sleep reasonably well, but occasionally I will just have things just going round all the time, and 2 o'clock comes, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and I haven't been to sleep, and I've been thinking. What I've tried to do is say, maybe I'm thinking about a problem that I need to solve, or maybe I'm just thinking about holidays from 15 years ago. So it doesn't necessarily have to be anything unpleasant. It can be, pleasant thoughts, but they're still keeping me awake. And what I try and do is say, look, there is really nothing that I can do about it now. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. The earliest opportunity I've got to do anything about this at all is 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, for example, or 7 o'clock or whatever. But for now, just keep it completely blank, keep it right away. And, that's what I try and do. Easier to say than do sometimes, but it has worked for me, I have to say. That's why I'm mentioning it now, because it's something that has actually worked. I've been able to say, right, sort it out from 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm back on this. For now, I'm right off of it, and that's has worked for me.
Yeah, there's a
Believe it
couple
or
of
not.
things
Yeah.
that I can say that has worked for me as well. One is actually an exercise that we were told to do in one of the corporate trainings we had. It's the most, irrelevant training. Training itself wasn't even relevant to this, what I'm going to say, but it was
Yeah.
about, it was really great. Here's the example.
Yeah.
Your mind can only focus on one thing at
Sure.
a
Yeah.
time, even though we might think that we can multitask, but that's
Oh,
just a lie
we
in
can't.
itself.
No, we can't.
We can't.
It's me.
Even
You
the
see,
new generation, they
did you
can't.
see me just trying to do something then on camera? Quite obviously, you see, you can't.
You can't. So it's so to use that to our advantage, if your mind is thinking about something, whether it's helpful or unhelpful,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
keeping you awake,
Uh-huh.
the only way you can go back to sleep is to focus your mind onto something that is completely irrelevant, but also boring, so that you
Okay.
can go back to sleep. And the tip that they gave
Yes.
us
Yeah.
was that if you start imagining your journey home from work, or it
Oh,
could be
right.
your morning
Yes.
walk or whatever it might be.
We've talked about this before,
We
haven't
did,
we?
didn't
Yeah.
we? That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And,
Yeah. Imagine journey. Okay. Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
and that always worked for me. If you remember my journey from my old work, come out
Yes.
of the gate and turn around the roundabout, by the time I get past the first roundabout, I'm asleep already. Literally, I was asleep. And the latest I've been to sleep is the second, third, fourth roundabout after the motorway going towards, where I used to live. But it was
Yeah.
like, wow, this exercise works all the time. Your mind cannot focus on more than one thing at any given time, and your journey to home or work, either way, is something boring that you don't want to necessarily develop on, but you start visualizing it in your head
Yeah. Yeah.
bit by bit by bit. By the time you came to the first bit, you're already asleep. The second one is, again, these kind of white noises and stuff
Hmm.
helps us go to sleep because they are
Oh, yeah.
boring and your brain can easily engage with that.
Hmm.
And what I do is to focus on my breathing. So
Okay. Yeah.
breathe quite deeply and from
Yeah.
my nose and through my mouth, and then do this a few times, and then focus on the noise of your breathing.
Yes.
And
I was
by
doing it then and heard it. Yeah.
yeah, and by probably the third breath, you're already asleep. And if this kind of prolongs, what you could do is focus on different parts of your body, you know, left nostril, right eye, and
Wow.
left
Yeah.
cheek,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. Just keep saying them in your head as you breathe. Again, by the fourth body part, you're already asleep. That works all the time. But
That's
again,
excellent.
it's a kind of way to train your body
Hmm.
to make this happen as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got to ask you, when you're doing your journey home, are you going at walking pace or driving pace?
Because I used to I used to drive to another city. Yeah, it was driving. But walking can also work. It doesn't really matter. But this was the driving
Yeah.
journey.
I just want to get the picture in my head. But
Yeah.
the important point here
Yeah.
is get your head stuck into something that's really quite boring and you're quite happy to go to sleep to get out of it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Could be a business meeting, couldn't it?
It could be anything, but then business meeting, the thing with that is that you start getting into conversations and all this sort of stuff. So I wouldn't suggest
Yeah,
that you do
I
that.
was only joking. Sorry, anybody who runs business meetings. I've been there. I've been to good meetings as well. So
Yeah.
they can be good or bad, of course. Yeah, I was
Mm.
just thinking, yeah, some people, oh no, it's just not again.
So it's the whole point of it is to quieten the chatter. So we are gonna run
Exactly, yeah.
away or steer
Yeah.
away from the chatter,
So get away from
literally.
chatter and people and communication. Get onto something boring that's just you doing something that isn't
Hmm.
particularly inspiring, that's
Yeah.
mundane, and then that'll help you.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. No, that's really good. I think, well, my distraction's turning me to my watch. I think we're out of time again,
It
Chulai.
looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
So that's great. So time to stop the conversation and quieten the brain, quieten everything down until we talk next time.
Yes.